Wesley
The Book of
Huff.
Enoch is nuts.
That's
I talked
the
to Wes
Giants
Huff about
one.
it.
That's the Giants
It's
one,
not
right?
just the Giants, it's aliens. It's about the Watchers who came down and mated with human beings. Bro, I'm reading it right now.
I know you are. I
It's
already know.
bananas. She told me to read it. And she's like, you have to read this. It's nuts.
And what did Wes Huff say? Did he say there's a legitimacy?
It's 100% of a legitimate text. It's legitimate religious text, but they decided not to include it because it's so nuts and because it goes against what the writings of the Torah.
Right, right.
So, but it was a few rabbis. Just a few rabbis decided.
If
the Book of Enoch was included in the Bible, it changes the whole
Why would
story
the
of the
rabbis
human
decide
race.
what goes into the
back then
Christian?
they had that kind of power. They just decided that it doesn't get included in the canon. This is a long time ago.
But yeah, I mean, this is like around. Well, who decided the canonized Bible, right? This is like Constantine time, right?
Well, that's for the New Testament, right? And so with the Old Testament, you've got Wes Huff would be the guy to ask all these questions.
Enoch was included in the Old Testament.
Oh, it's old as fuck.
Oh, okay,
Not only is it old as fuck, when they found it, they also found a version of the Book of Isaiah. This is one of the things that Wes Huff told me that was really fascinating. They found a version of the Book of Isaiah that is verbatim the same as a version of the version of Isaiah that was 1,000 years later, which they thought was the original.
Unbelievable.
That's what's crazy. For 1,000 years, they maintained the exact same story verbatim, writing it down and passing it on. And the Book of Enoch's in there with that. And the Book of Enoch is bananas.
Yeah, I think we might need to do a little deep dive on the Book of Enoch.
The Book of Enoch, it says that these Watchers came down and mated with human beings and created a race of giants called the Nephilim who consumed and destroyed everything in front of them. Gee, that sounds like people. That sounds a lot like people.
Yeah.
If you got a bunch of little chimps and then you got these tall aliens and they make a fucking 7-foot man, a Viking, who's like chopping off heads and lighting villages on fire and has this unstoppable desire for conquest, that's humans. The Nephilim sounds like humans.
Exactly. So they're not giants. We are the giants. And then what if the other folks...
They might have been giants. It's hard to say.
But what if the other folks were the Neanderthals? Well, because there was a time where we're living together, right?
Right. Well, they were here before us, allegedly. Well, the question is where did humans come from?
Yeah.
This is the real question. There's a really interesting show on PBS right now called Human, where this lady goes on this journey of, she's, what is her degree in? Is she an anthropologist? I believe she's an anthropologist. But or maybe some sort of biologist, but she goes over the history of the human species. It's very interesting. The migration from across the Bering Land Bridge into North America, when the oldest people started coming here, how they came here. Fascinating stuff. But that's one of those things, if you think ancient history is filled with horseshit, ancient human history, of the humans. That's the woman's name. I don't want to fuck up her name. Ella al-Shamahi. And it's on BBC and PBS. Really good show. I just started watching it. She's a paleontologist, degree in genetics and taxonomy and biodiversity. But they just found recently a human skull that pushes the date of humans back another 500,000 years.
Yeah.
So it's all they know is what they find in the fossil record, and there's so little fossil record. And then they keep finding new things. They just found Denisovans in 2010. They're like, whoa,
what is that?
What's this? Total new branch of the human tree.
It's called
Denisovans.
Denisovans.
Yeah, they found a bunch of teeth, I think, in Asia, and they're like, what the fuck is this? And then or maybe it was Russia. There's that. There's the one that they found in China, the big head people.
That's the one that I
real recent. Yeah. That's real recent. I forget what that one's called. We've done this a million times, but I always forget. But so they're always finding these new versions of humans. So how many of them really were there? But if there's a bunch of science experiments, if aliens are coming down and let's try them where they're short and really powerful and they only eat meat. And that's Neanderthals. Stop. This one's not a good design. This is not a good design. We need them a little more frail so they invent things. Yeah. Because the brutes don't invent anything.
Yeah, more frontal cortex.
Yeah, the Neanderthals had bigger brains than us. That's what's interesting.
So then what part of our brain was specifically different?
So we have a very our idea of them is that they were dumb and they couldn't talk and that they were brutes. But it doesn't seem like that's true. In fact, it seems like they had art, they definitely had tools, and they had language. And they might have been as smart as us. They were just different. And maybe us being a little weaker is what made us smarter. You know?
Or made us work collectively.
Maybe we're a little more alien, just a touch.
Right.
There's a little too much salt in that stew. Let's add a touch more of us. And, you know, it seems like the hairy, 5'7", 200-pound fucking savages with big eyes that might be able to see at night, because it looks like they might have had night vision. They have huge eyeballs, man.
Right.
The Neanderthal eye socket's way bigger than ours. Their skull's thicker. Their bones are more dense. They might have had night vision, like a dog. You know how dogs, their eyes glow when the headlights hit them? They might have had that same ability.
I mean, yeah, I don't know why.
That design's too sketchy.
It's just not
They
working.
can see at night,
Yeah.
and then they go hunting other people. This is too much.
But then we hunted them.
Maybe. We might have just fucked them.
I also heard we fucked them.
Well, I
Yeah,
think
you
we
had that
hunted them and
joke,
we
right?
fucked
You're
them.
like, I got a little bit of... Yeah.
One more time with the monkey.
But in terms of, like, the stories, like... All right, you know when a comic gets off stage and, like, they think they killed, but they bombed?
Right.
Like, there could be people telling those stories in the books.
There could be.
Like, meaning what their rendition of what happens is in the book, and that is what they truly believed happened. They might not even be delusional. They are delusional, but, like, that's what they saw, and that's what happened to them.
And history is always written by the winners.
Exactly.
Yeah. My version of the Bible story back in the day, I used to have this bit about Noah's Ark. I was like, the problem with the Bible is people are full of shit, and that story sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple. It's
Yeah.
like people lie all the time. I've never met any politician or any person who's in charge of anything that's, like, really important that I would say never lies. So if you're back then where there's zero accountability, zero video, zero anything, they can't even write.
Well, that's where the cross-referencing makes sense, right? It's like that's when you got a bunch of different people saying the same thing or similar things. You start to go, okay, maybe this did happen.
I had Rep Luna on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And she's the one who really got me to read the Book of Enoch.
Dude, she's digging in.
Oh, yeah.
She's digging in. Yeah.
She's all in on the UFOs.
I know she is.
I don't know what they tell her.
Yeah.
I mean, is she useful to them? You know, the whole thing is
maybe,
weird.
though. Maybe. It's hard to know.
But when I started reading it, now, if that was included in the Bible, if they had, because it really was rabbis that decided that it didn't jive with the Torah, right?
Right.
And so they said, no, this one's
Can't
too
have
crazy.
this, yeah.
If that was in the Bible, and that's what we were taught,
Things would be different.
can you imagine, like,
Things would
Sunday
be
church,
different,
the
bro.
Watchers came down and made it.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, that is in
Yeah.
the same area of Qumran, written down as the book of Isaiah. So all these things that are included in the Bible, that's there. It's
Yeah.
all in the same word. Why are we ignoring some of it? Like, that's really crazy. Why ignoring the stuff that seems the most kooky?
I think that there's probably maybe disagreements because, I mean, there's so much change for the biblical canon from all of these different, councils, like the Council of Nicaea, all these different censorings and changing of the Bible. It's probably personal issue. It could be something as simple as just someone who personally did not believe that. It was like, that's bullshit. Remove that. That's not real. There's no way there were giants. But I love how at the beginning of the Bible, it's like there were giants in those times and the times before.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All over.
Moving
the
on,
Bible.
never mention it again, in any sort of real context other than David and Goliath in a few situations. But no, I really am starting to wonder if there was a giant race that was on this planet,
there was.
dude. I really do.
The Native American depictions alone.
Yeah.
There's too many stories of enormous men that they had to kill.
Yeah. And their history, their oral tradition goes so far back.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
so
imagine
far
we're
back.
talking 10,000.
Yeah.
Now that we know that human beings lived in North America 22,000 plus years ago, right? So the fossilized footprints that they found in New Mexico, so that's 22,000 years. So imagine if 22,000 years ago these things were a real thing. How many of them have you found? You haven't found any bones of humans from 22,000 years ago in North America, have you? No, right? So why?
Exactly.
Does the Smithsonian have them, these motherfuckers? If they really do have a giant down there,
I think they probably do, Joe.
can you imagine if there's there's a tomb that you have to go into? It's like a vault. The guy cranks open the vault.
It's like the history version of Area 51.
You see a fucking head the size of this table, and you're like, what?
That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had to kill him off.
Maybe.
Which totally makes sense. Why would you let that motherfucker live?
Right.
You got a 10-foot tall, 12-foot tall.
That's a problem.
Yeah, 2,000-pound human that eats people.
That is a problem. I wonder, I always get this because, like, the Watchers themselves are never described as giant beings.
Right.
I wonder where the giant came into the equation.
Well, isn't it us
compared
to them?
Maybe,
Let's
because
look at
maybe there were slight aliens, like alien greys or something, and
Well, look at the description of the Nephilim, how they destroyed everything.
Yeah.
Like, they created this thing that consumed everything, destroyed everything, including mankind. Like, what does that sound like?
It sounds like us.
That sounds like us.
It sounds like us.
Right. And also, like, you're saying mankind. Like, mankind, what are you saying? Are you saying aliens? Are you saying, who wrote this?
Yeah.
Like, what is mankind?
For
like,
sure.
what does that term mean? I bet you're not saying man. I bet you're probably using an ancient language to describe whatever the dominant force was at the time that's writing all this down. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
What is these Watchers? They mated with humans? So what are they? And they created something that destroyed everything? What? So, okay, what is that? What are you talking about? And doesn't that sound exactly like humans? Like, what do? We fucking destroy everything.
Yeah.
We destroy everything. We light things on fire. We suck all the fish out of the ocean. We throw our garbage in it. We are so destructive.
Yeah.
And we're so consuming. We consume. We're one of the only animals that dies because we eat too much.
Yeah. Right.
Right? We're one of the only animals.
Yeah. Well, we are the only example on this planet of the level of intelligence that we have. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
Right.
I mean, really quite phenomenal when you consider all of the various avenues of evolution that have been given the opportunity.
We have a massive leap.
Phenomenal leap, but a leap that has to in some way have been intervened with, in my opinion. I mean, it's such a quantum leap in our ability of cognition and the brain size. I mean, I do find the stoned ape theory very interesting, and the concept of using psychedelics, and I think there's a role to play in that for sure. But I just think that when you have such a novel trajectory change from every other creature, every other animal on this planet, that tells me that there is something fundamentally accelerated in humans. And whether that can just be put down to shamanic use of psychedelics, I don't know. I think that when you invoke, again, all of these various theologic stories, it becomes clear that something was interfacing with us. And perhaps at one point, we were interfacing with them. And there was a communication and a relation that has since long degraded after, cataclysmic outreaches and.
I think the evolution that came out of psychedelics and primitive man was the escape from the barbaric nature of our roots.
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily the development of the human brain. I think it's probably a way to use the human brain with its primate background, but soften the ego.
Right. Yeah.
And endorse a feeling of community. And promote a feeling of community and love and the connectiveness that you get from psychedelics. So it will allow you to traverse the timelines between incredibly barbaric hunter-gatherers with stone-tipped tools to agrarian societies where people are all living together and cooperating, and it makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is the giant leap to being a human in the first place.
No.
It's kooky.
It is,
and it's in the Bible. At least it's in the Book of Enoch.
That's
there.
The
crazy part about it is that they literally describe what we're, and not just us. Like many people have theorized. Like, have we been a product? Are we a product of genetic manipulation? Are we a product of accelerated evolution?
Well, again, my own experiences, I just feel like there is quite obviously a vast intelligence spectrum out there, in my opinion, and I think it goes beyond our own perception of space and time, and I think that there are likely things that can come in from realms that we just don't really believe are real, like the astral, and even the realm of the imagination is an interesting thing. What is this place inside of our heads that we can instantaneously create anything we want, and all things, including everything on this table, once came from inside someone's mind? Like, we are excretors of ideas into reality. We kind of render reality into...
We're in the middle of the audiobook of the Book of Enoch, and it's one of the wildest things I've ever listened to in my life.
It's weird.
Oh my God, it's so weird. When you realize that a lot of the people in the Book of Enoch are also in the Bible, and that it's one of the craziest stories. It's one of the craziest origin stories ever, that angels came down and bred with humans. and made giants.
Right.
The giants destroyed the earth. Like, what is this story?
It's mostly in the Hebrew Bible. It's the story of what led to the flood. Yeah, the sons of Elohim.
How do you interpret the Watchers? What do you think that could be?
I think, they're not mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. They are mentioned in the Book of Enoch. That's a crazy book, isn't it?
It's crazy.
Yeah, I started reading it, and I said to my wife, I can't handle this. It's too much.
It's because if that was left in the Bible, if they decided that that was like a part of the canon, that would change everything.
Well, in what way?
It's the craziest story ever. That these things came down and bred with humans and created giants, and the giants destroyed and consumed everything.
Yeah, those giants.
And consumed each other. Like,
yeah, bloodshed.
What kind of kooky story is this? Like, what is this?
Well, it's the reason for the flood,
Right.
and all that. Yeah. Things just got so bad, God said, I changed my mind. And he brings the flood.
When you hear about these biblical depictions of fantastic events, how many of them are you attributing to a psychedelic experience? Are you open to that, or do you just not worry?
Well, they're clearly a psychedelic experience. The Book of Enoch is just fully psychedelic. I mean,
Right.
At least a lot of it is. Yeah. It's a psychedelic version of the Bible in some ways. Well, it is really psychedelic. I think it's from the release of endogenous DMT. It comes about, or from drinking and having an ayahuasca-like experience.
That's what you think the origin of the Book of Enoch is?
It's a psychedelic experience. It might be a prophetic state that's brought about. It's a visionary state, clearly. Might have been a huge fever dream. I mean, he was really out there.
These things are happening in an alternative dimension.
Right. Yeah, I think they're happening in an alternative dimension. Like when you smoke DMT, you return to the same place each time. So there seems to be some reality, some DMT world that people enter into. In that same manner, the world of the Hebrew Bible early on, Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel, Noah, the Tower of Babel, all that took place. Mm-hmm. At some different level of reality, which gradually made its way into ours. And once it made its way into ours, there's the archaeological evidence, the first temple, second temple, and so on. So there is a transition between, our world and that world kind of merged. But in the beginning, it was an alternative dimension. It's the same God, I think, but different dimensions.
So, is this your own personal conclusion?
Yeah. Wow. Well, when I was on the show last time, you're asking if I believe those things took place, and my answer then was I take it as if it were true.
Right.
And then I started to think, how I would do that. Like, in what world would that be true? It'd be a different world.
Right. I've always believed that they were trying to record something. I just didn't always trust that human beings were completely honest with their recollection of events, so that there's something that they were trying to write down. But was it really coming from God? Are these accurate events? What exactly happened with Noah and the ark? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what really happened?
Well, 3 stories, three levels, 2 of each.
Yeah, but like, how's he feeding them? Animals eat other animals. The whole thing's nuts. You would need a lot more rabbits. You need so many animals to keep just the lions alive.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. How's he getting them all from all over the world into his stupid boat?
Yeah.
There's so many things that are wrong. What do you think was going on with that story? Like, what is the origin of the story of Noah and his ark and his family and all the animals on the boat?
Yeah. Well, I think it was taking place in that alternate universe. It may have taken place on the planet. I don't know. I'm, looking at, why we don't have any clear archaeological history story, what about what happened during the time of Noah, if there was a time of Noah. It's useful because Noah came from Adam and Eve, and he and Noah and his family were the only survivors of the flood. The first thing Noah did, got drunk after the flood.
The first thing.
The first thing he did, he planted a vineyard, grapevine, drank, got drunk. He exposed himself in the tent. One of his grandkids reported it and made a laughingstock of him.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. Poor Noah. He got canceled? Noah got canceled?
Yeah. Took off his clothes.
Really? Wasn't he like 600 years old, too?
He has first child at 600, I think.
That seems real.
Well, he may have lived a lot of people wonder, why did people live, in the Bible anyway?
Right.
How did people live 900 years? Well, they did.
But that's also why people question what the origin of the story is. That's why. Can you hear things like that? You're like, wait a minute, how old was he? 600 years old? Come on, man.
His first child.
He's just a regular dude.
Yeah.
His first kid when he was 600.
The last one he was 830 or so.
Oh, that seems logical.
Yeah.
But maybe.
Why are you laughing?
Maybe.
Really, it could
Listen,
be true. Why not?
If people lived normally to be 600, would that be any weirder than living to be 100? No. Like, what if something happened? What if something happened and our lifespan just went? Brrr.
Yeah. Well, the final species of man lives 35,000 years.
Jeez Louise. That's a long time to be in a bad relationship. Imagine 35,000 years of getting yelled at.
Well, they that would be bad. But
I mean, I'm saying 35,000 years would be awesome if you have great friends and your life is together. But can you imagine 35,000 years of fuck this place? That would get tired.
Well, the point that those people tried to attain when they lived 35,000 years was this group telepathy around the whole planet.
Neuralink.
Right.
Yeah.
That was their goal.